8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 6, 5, 4. Come on, man. Let's go. Come on. Let's go, man. Come on. Get on the ground, man. You gotta take it back to day one, man.
What are you breathing out here?
Hey, for anybody that ever question our work, find you something else to question.
Tell a little bit about yourself.
I was born in South Georgia, in a little small town, Americus, Georgia. Very humble beginning. Grew up single parent home and left there in 1996 after graduating. Went on to Middle Georgia Junior College, played football there, and was able to leave there and go on to play Division I football at UAB and was drafted into the NFL in 2001. Just a small synopsis about where I'm from. And I was drafted in 2001 in the 6th round. And ended up playing in the NFL for a total of 5 seasons. And now I run a business, Modern Day Fitness, to bring you up to speed, where I train high school athletes primarily, but I have quite a few college and pro, both boys and girls, and I train about 4 or 5 different sports. I guess my life, there's a lot of different parts to that video that I'll apply to different areas. Like, one of the first things that I think that kind of caught my eye was the whole concept of acknowledging the fact that you had the talent to be able to do something. I mean, it took me a while because I juggled with that out of high school because I was a late bloomer. I used to wonder, was I even talented enough for a while to even play in the NFL? So I kind of struggled with that early on. I knew that I could do some things that some other people couldn't do, and I knew I had some extraordinary size and some explosion and some different things. But I still kind of questioned, even though that dream was latent in the back of my mind, I still kind of questioned the talent side. And once I think I got the confidence as time went on, because again, I was a late bloomer. I grew late, as far as height and weight was concerned. And then I was not serious with football until about my 11th grade year. So with all those factors being added in, it took me a little while to kind of get the confidence to be able to say that, hey, you have the talent. So once I got that part out of the way, that's definitely when I started to apply those extra hours. Because I always was kind of a no distraction guy. I never was a pack follower. So I think that came more naturally to me than anything, because, a lot of the partying, a lot of the hanging out and, chasing, this, that, or the other, and drinking and drug and all like that, that never was appealing to me. I can honestly say I never dealt with that. And, not being judgmental to some of the people who did that, that was a part of their life. I got some stuff that I didn't do right, but that was never an issue. So I didn't deal with a lot of distractions. So I definitely can identify with that extra time. Once I grasped the fact that, hey, you can do this, you can play with anybody on any level. Once I grasped that, then that's when that side of it kicked in to say, okay, I'm not a real distraction person. So now all these extra hours that I have outside of academics, whatever's required as far as the football coaches, I can start to use some of that time and start working on my own. So I seen several parts that I think I applied, and that's on the football side. But again, there are so many facets to me, and at the age of 42, that made me who I was. But I guess the football side, I can definitely apply. See where what you said in that video applies.
What about just in life in general, even just in training or owning a business, and even outside of football? You can. Well,
as a trainer, I know I'm a second guy. I firmly believe that I just have something to me where I feel like I've always felt like, even as a small child, my mother used to read me this a story called the Little Engine That Could. And I can remember being a small boy and she would read me that story repetitively over and over. All the way till I was 19 years old, I can remember my mama reading me that story. So I think that story kind of created a drive in me where I always felt like I could outlast people. So with that being said, the second guy concept, what made that it resonated so well with me is because I felt like I could always go beyond, even in this training business and what I do for a living right now. And even while I was in the NFL, I felt like even if I ran into somebody with more talent, more resources, maybe a little bit more smarter, may have a little bit more favor in the community or whatever, I felt like I could stay the course and I could stay on par longer than a person. So I think that's where I identify from a business standpoint, that while everybody else going to do what's required, I'm just that type of person where I feel like I can just stay the course and I can just continue to do the extra and do the little things that they won't even, a lot of time won't even resonate in their minds.
Would you say there were any distractions, whether it's video games or anything that's taken up your time, that you were like, okay, I could spend more time going towards my goal rather than this?
I can tell you with all certainty, one of the biggest things that I struggled with is learning the difference early on, the difference between activity and productivity. So, a lot of times, I think one of my biggest distractions was a lot of times you find yourself just working, but it was times where I had to step back and start to really be more calculated and realize, okay, don't necessarily work in your comfort zone, find the things that you don't do well and make sure that you ain't got a lot of activity, because you can stay in a weight room or you can stay on a field working for 4 or 5 hours and not be getting anything done, as opposed to another guy can go out there in an hour and say, hey man, I need to work on getting off of blocks. I'm a defensive lineman. I need to work on getting off of blocks. And I can go out there for 1 hour and work, with a purpose and a plan and on a mission with the right attitude. For 1 hour, I can get done with somebody else is spending 4 hours out there. So I think that was my biggest thing, is trying to narrow down the difference between activity and productivity, and then fighting the battle against procrastination. Because, when you really think about it, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this extra work, but that 20 or 30 minutes I sat in the room thinking about it, or wondering, man, can I muster up enough energy today, instead of just getting up and going, that was more time could have been applied to it. So even in hindsight, looking back, that was definitely something I dealt with. And for me too, definitely sports-wise, I didn't deal with, and socially I didn't deal with a lot of distraction, but academically was one of my distractions, like basically coming up with a game plan to say to myself, okay, I'm here now. You brought me here to college to get a degree and to play ball. Why not go ahead and finish both of them instead of leaving here just saying I played ball? And so at some point, all that clicked in and made me start to realize that, hey man, I got to merge all this together and become a better student athlete. So that was definitely one of my pitfalls, because as I stated earlier in the video, I had to go to junior college for a reason. I wasn't there because, they had a, real nice spirit pack. I was there because I made some poor decisions in high school as far as academic was concerned. So I think those were my pitfall: procrastination, learning the difference between activity and productivity, and actually getting serious about being a student athlete as opposed to just being an athlete.
Everyone talks about the grind, and then there's a lot of kids they maybe think they're put in some work or whatever like that. What do you think? What are some things that you think that they're missing, that they're not being told via the social media, YouTube, Facebook stuff? Like, what would you say?
Well, I think we're living at a time, and I don't think, I think it's the young and the old. We're dealing at a time whereby we're not, the word grind is not a bad word. It's not a cuss word. It's a good word. The problem is we struggle with definition. A lot of people we like to throw out these words, but we don't really know the definition of them. So what happens is, with this whole phenomenon about the grind, and we hashtagging work all day, no days off, all these hashtags, all these catchphrases, what you find out, you wake up one day and you realize you actually have been marketing to yourself. Like literally, Nike don't have to do it no more. Adidas don't have to do it no more. You selling the lies to yourself. And what happens is you have to start to redefine what the grind really is. And really, man, in my own personal opinion, the grind basically is what I spoke about earlier, is the difference between activity and productivity. Are you willing to wake up consistently? And always know this: what separates God from man is consistency. we can do some of the same thing that God gave us some of his same powers. I mean, the power to create, the power to manifest, the power to, everything from prophecy to giving to being able to heal. Like, God gave us a bit of him, but the problem is we can't consistently produce him. So what happens is where we can come up with something once every now and again, he can do it over and over again. So the grind is like God to me in the sense of you got to be able to consistently do it. You got to be able to consistently get up day in and day out when it hurts bad, when it don't seem like it's going to work. Can you work in the dark? Most kids can't work in the dark. And so what happens is it's about the definition of the grind where the issue lies, not the actual word. The word is not a bad word, but it's the definition. Most people just have a bad definition because, again, the grind is a consistency to be able to recognize consistently the difference between activity and productivity and consistently being able to reproduce it over and over and over again when it look like it ain't going to work. And so, anybody can grind when the goal is clear and it looks like I'm going to be able to do what I thought I was going to be able to do. The grind is when you literally going through the forest blindfolded. And you're gonna hit some grizzly bears, and you're gonna hit some poisonous snakes, and you're gonna run into some eagle's nests, you're gonna run into tarantulas, and all this other stuff. And sometimes it's gonna bite the heck out of you. You ain't gonna even know where it came from, but you still gotta march on. And that's what make the grind different, is going through that jungle blindfolded. And most people they talk the word, but they don't live the word.
Kids will see like this player, that player, on TV now and on the Instagram page, what they're doing now versus what they did to get there. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, he's got the cleats, he's got this, he's got that. If I get this and I do the things he's doing right now, I'm going to be where he's at. So what would you say about that?
Oh, it's extremely simple. I think what you're really going into is product over process. And I talk about that all the time. And what you got to realize is most of these guys that on Instagram, they giving you 23 hours where they're giving you 59 seconds of a 23 hour and with 23 hours and 59 minutes left to go in a day. So basically taking out 59 seconds of their life and they still have 23 hours and 59 minutes left, and that's all they're giving you. And so, and you got to realize a lot of these guys are backed by marketing machines. So there are so many people that are dependent on them to sell product. So they're selling most of these kids product. And what happens when you're buying product, you don't fall in love with process. When I was a kid, Reebok came out with something called a pump, where you could pump the shoe up and you're supposed to jump higher, run faster, and all this other stuff. And, this was, I grew up around low income people, and you would just be surprised who could. That's when I really learned the whole concept of you really want something bad enough, you can figure it out. Because some of the people, they wasn't even eating good, but they found a way to get a pair of Reebok pumps. Well, when they got the shoes, they were sorely disappointed because what they found out is you can't put it on you, it got to be in you. So the work that it takes to jump higher, run faster, consistently, that grind we talked about, that's got to take place. The shoe is only a byproduct of all that. And so what I learned through trial and tribulation and going through stuff like that is you gotta fall in love with the process. The process is the hard work that goes on, the continuous grind, the train, no days off, and all these hashtags that are out there, grind consistently, all these other things. That's all of those are catchphrases. But what's got to happen is you got to fall in love with the process. The process is going to make you run faster. The process is going to make you jump higher. The process is going to up your instinct in the game. The process is going to make your skill better. The product, all it is something to purchase. And the reason you know that product is not the answer, because the product was the only answer, then the people, why the NBA, the NFL, boxing, UFC, most of these places that you see people are successful at, those people couldn't afford the product. So the people that are most successful a lot of time in the sporting arena couldn't even afford the product. So if it was about product, they would have been in trouble. Most of the people that I'll take Floyd Mayweather for an example. 50-year-old boxer, grew up in Flint, Michigan, man, in a rough situation. Daddy selling drugs, mom on drugs, like a tough situation. didn't have any money for the best boxing gloves that was sold. He found a way to make the ones he had work all the way to 50-0. But that kid across town that had all the product, he didn't understand the process. See, the one thing about it, the product can produce, the process can produce product, but the product can't produce process. So when you learn it, and so what happens is, man, I'll tell any kid, whenever you looking on Instagram and you taking a summation, you taking somebody's highlight film, and you're making that your Bible, you're making a bad mistake, because at the end of the day, all you're doing is falling in love with their product. You're seeing the end result of a whole lot of work. That's the product. Until you delve into their process, you'll never truly understand success. And that's on any level. That's academically, that's athletically, that's entrepreneurially, that's spiritually. Anything you do, if you don't delve into the process, the product will always elude you. Consistently it'll elude you. So I've been training athletes now for a little over 12 years, and it's very interesting when we talk about this first guy and second guy phenomenon. And I don't want to knock my girls either, because I train girls. So first girl, second girl too. So I've been blessed to train both of them. We put over 200 kids since college. 12 have got a chance to go on and at least be in a professional camp. Currently have about 5 on rosters. And we had All-Americans, Players of the Year, Heisman Trophy winners, and I've been able to train a lot of notable kids. And one of the biggest differences you see is between that first guy and that second guy. That first guy lives in the now a lot. He lives in the now. He deals with life as it comes. What I've noticed, and I'll give you an example of one of probably my most notable kid I've trained to be Jameis Winston, who's now with the he was formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now he's with the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, and he was a Heisman Trophy winner, All-American Player of the Year. He did all that. But what made him different than that first guy is he dealt with his football career from the end to the beginning. He didn't deal with it as he went. That first guy is kind of discovering himself as he goes along. He's picking up stuff and he's gaining confidence as he goes. The second guy is crazy enough to see all the way to the end of who he wants to be, and he starts to work back to the now. So Jameis was one of these kids to where he literally knew that he wanted to be a pro quarterback, and he worked at 14 or 15 like he wanted to be a pro quarterback. He started at the end. He worked his way. It wasn't one of those deals whereby he was kind of discovering on the way, oh, wow, I just completed that pass. Maybe I could play one day. He didn't take it as it went. He literally worked from the end to the beginning. I think that's the biggest difference that you see with that first guy and that second guy is that second guy is able to avoid a lot of distraction because he's so focused on the finish line, to where that first guy is kind of going and kind of allowing some things to come to him, which is nice, and he does produce a lot of great things, but the preparation that's needed on a day-to-day basis to be ready when the time comes, he's not taking it serious because, again, he's caught up in the moment and not the movement. And I think that's the biggest difference between that first guy and that second guy. I am Otis Leverette, founder of Modern Day Fitness and MDF Nation nonprofit, and I am the second guy.